Hello, I'm Kate, and I'm a massage therapist. I specialise in women's health and abdominal massage for fertility and menopause and personal growth.
And I'm Leora, and we're both in very similar worlds. I also am a women's health therapist, offering abdominal fertility massage and EFT and aromatherapy and just a whole package of emotional and physical support at all stages of life as a woman.
And very delicious it is. Together we run Love Your Belly workshops.
We do. We do, and a huge part of what we try and share and teach in the workshops is self care. That's what really drives the workshops. Is that we are able to show women what they can do to take care of themselves.
There's quite a lot about kindness and self care on the blog, but we thought it would be interesting to talk about what we do in our own lives and our own difficulties with it, because it's not easy, and what's worked for us and what we see working for our clients.
Yes, absolutely. So, Kate,
yes,
do share how what self-care looks like for you.
Well, sort of back in the day, I think probably when I first heard the term, I didn't really get what it meant, really. And I thought, oh, but that's like brushing your teeth, isn't it? You know, washing, having a bit of a wash.
Brushing my teeth. Bits are done, all is fine.
Yeah, I thought my self-care is pretty good, you know. I might have dinner on that. Anyway. But as I started to immerse myself in the world of women's health and menstruality, it became a whole deeper and more profound practice. So, and you know, for some people, in some situations, teeth brushing and washing might be their self-care. You know, if you're in a very dark place or in a very extreme living situation, that might be it. And I think it's important to remember that what we call our self-care is completely personal, and it's absolutely down to what we need in the moment. So my biggest battle and difficulty has been with my need to rest and to stop. As you know,
the creatrix.
Yeah, I always have a good idea. I'm always getting really excited about stuff, and we can do this, and I could make that, and you know, following trains of thought and my creative path.
Did you need serious guidance with that rest then?
Well, yeah, I was talking about. I knew. It wasn't like I didn't know what I had to do. You know, I was talking about it. I was saying that I was going to do it for years. You know, look at all the stuff I've written about slowing down. You know, I've really been engaged with how the hell can I manifest this for 10 years now. And I think what changed for me was, and I had lots of things in place. You know, I had lots of yoga and meditation and all this kind of stuff. But basically, I'd be going like a lunatic, and then quick, do some yoga. You know, which is, well, that's just me. You know, that's just my personal thing, and it wasn't enough.
Mm-hmm.
So what changed it was for me was actually it was a coaching call with Alexandra Pope.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, okay, so what can you commit to doing every day? So it wasn't, you know, a sort of externally imposed thing. It was, okay, so what could I actually do every day? So I started to have I put it in my diary, and I had rest time every day. like at nursery school.
Is that what you called it?
Well, actually, in my diary, it said bugger all.
Yeah.
And it would come up on my phone and go, bing, time to do bugger all. I'd be like, yes.
Beautiful.
And I have to say, I didn't always do it. It wasn't always consistent, but most of the time I did. And I let myself off the hook when it didn't happen. But what happened was, it very subtly infiltrated the whole of the rest of my life. So it slowly, over the course of a year, got bigger and bigger and bigger. Until these days, it's kind of non-negotiable. And the whole, I still tend towards either manic or comatose. That's my natural way of being, I think. But I'm slower. I'm better at pacing myself in general. So that small, it was 15 minutes, it was okay, you sit down for 15 minutes. Has just had this massive effect on my life and all sorts of other ways.
And for our menopausal listeners, how do you feel that has held your journey?
The resting, I think it's absolutely central. I think having time to do nothing, and this wasn't meditation time, this wasn't visualization time, this wasn't belly massage time, this wasn't yoga, it wasn't any of that, which I also do, but this was having a space where nothing happened, was enormously affirming of my emerging postmenopausal self. So I don't know who she is yet, but that's it. Having a space where I didn't do anything meant that I could it just gave space for something new to happen. It was fertile. I think that's what I would say. It's an incredibly it's an incredibly fertile thing, because it's that wintry, dead nothing where it looks like nothing is happening. And we have that, ideally we have that in menstruation as well, if we're lucky a little bit, hopefully, fingers crossed.
That's the idea.
And, it's so countercultural, and it so looks like nothing's happening, and it so looks like you're wasting time, but there's something that emerges from it that is just, so it's incredibly fertile, but you just don't see the fertility. And I think seeing my clients who come in, that's also very true for people with fertility who come because they want to have a child, or with issues around having a child. That nothingness is absolutely terrifying and so fertile.
It's a huge ask.
Yeah.
It's a huge ask.
Yeah. Because it doesn't make sense. Yeah.
No.
So that's.
This is part of the revolution. Revolution of doing bugger all.
Yes, bugger all. And rest is revolutionary. It is a revolutionary act for us women in this time in our lives. Yeah. So that was all about my self-care. Leora, I'm really interested to hear how your self-care has changed over the last 5 years or so, and how that's been for you.
Huge. It's been huge, just because similar to you, it was okay. Self-care is rather superficial. It had felt very superficial. So when all my work with abdominal massage and really working into myself as well as clients, but into myself, that's when light bulbs began to go off about what self-care can really, really come down to. And there are two things for me that really do hold me. One is self-care massage, so massaging my own womb, massaging my own belly, and it allows me to start with, just to see how it feels in that day, in that moment, to just lay my hands on my womb, to just lay my hands on my belly, and what does that bring up from what's going on in the month, what's going on in the day, in that moment. So that's my first check-in. But then when I can actually start the massage, what's coming up? What's coming up at each movement, and if I get slightly deeper, what does that bring up emotionally? Where does that it can be a very physical, that's a shooting pain to somewhere else, that's a shooting sensation to somewhere else, so what does that mean for me? And it's a fantastic check-in for me at the end of the day. It's always just before I go to sleep, and can quite often just send me off to sleep. I'll be halfway through a stroke and I'm gone. But it allows me to check in emotionally. It allows me to check in physically, and check in with the psyche as well. What is going on? So that's huge. That really is a massive all-round form of self-care for me. And also charting has become my touchstone. It really, really has become my touchstone. And even though sometimes the massage does stop, and I don't manage to get a massage in every night or whatever, but the chanting never does stop, because I found that gives me so much information. I find that that is my nightly check-in, and that tells me how I'm feeling, how the day's gone, where that relates to the moon, where that relates to where I am in my cycle. And it all sounds so simple, but when things have changed within my cycle, because as I'm reaching perimenopause, each month is every cycle is slightly different, slightly longer, maybe a little bit painful, maybe a little heavier, and how I'm feeling in ovulation. For instance, last cycle, I felt quite angry. I felt, I don't want to be doing it. I've had my children now. I don't want to be ovulating, and it was as if my body was working against itself, and obviously not. That the cycle is still as my cycle is, but it was an amazing check-in with myself. I was like, well, why do I feel quite so resentful of myself? And I can feel that there's ovulation happening, but I feel really resentful about it. So that's the first time that had ever happened, and it meant that I could just say, okay, this is how I'm feeling, this makes sense, this time in my life makes sense, and I can just hold that moment. And be able to talk about it, and be able to remember it, and it'll be interesting in my next cycle what happens, if that comes up again, and if that's the way I'm going. But it's the awareness of it, and the fact that I haven't given myself a hard time over it.
Well, that's the thing that strikes me, is that you can allow feelings that are perhaps difficult.
Yeah.
But it's the acceptance, and see this. I know from my own experience of charting, seeing that swing, noticing the sort of the outward and inward swing, and all the feelings every month, makes it much easier to be kind.
It really does. It really, really does. And the simplicity is almost absurd, because all you have to do is write down how you're feeling
Mm.
with an acknowledgement to, if you are in a menstrual cycle, where you are in your cycle. If you are menopause, postmenopause, then whatever way you want to chart along with the moon or whatever.
Mm.
But it's there for you, and so simple, so quick, so full of treasures, treasures that just means that we can be more at ease with ourselves.
Yeah. The checking in.
The checking in.
So,
the checking in, yes.
Well, so for the people, for the women who are watching this, apart from obviously massaging their learning to massage their belly and charting, and you can download a chart from our website. I'll put the link underneath. What's your top tip, Leora, for what's your top tip for women who know that they need some self-care but don't know what that would look like?
Which is probably the most common situation for most people, not just women, but for most people. What do we need? And this is it. It's really, really honing into what we need in that moment. And what I do with myself, what I do with clients, and it seems to be so beautifully effective, is just keeping it simple. And it's almost an EFT technique as well, but just putting your hands over your heart and closing your eyes and taking just a couple of really deep breaths in, and just asking yourself, what do I need right now? What do I really, really need right now? And it just comes. It just comes. And if there's too many thought processes or too much going on, you can do that anywhere. You can do that absolutely anywhere. You can, if you're in an office situation, you can take yourself off to the toilet. What do I need right now? And once it's come to you, once it's clear to you what you need, and we're not looking at taking a week off or spending a day in a spa.
No.
We can include that in the picture, but even if it was the need to take a week off, okay, so plan a day off.
Okay.
It's the tiny things. You just take it step by step, and it's the tiny things. Alexandra Pope, what she calls the 1%, the homeopathic dose of what you need.
Yeah.
And it builds, and it's so tiny, but such a deep acknowledgement of yourself. And once needs are met in tiny, tiny doses, you find that they build. And you expressed it so beautifully with your bugger all time. What started as a little chunk of your day, just a tiny chunk of your day, is now non-negotiable, like you say.
I think there's one thing I'd like to add to what you're saying, and that is, when we say, because we're saying yes to ourselves, we're saying it's an affirmation, whether you go and sit in the loo and take a breath, or you go for a walk, or whatever it is, it's an affirmation of ourselves that we're making. But that often requires saying no to other things.
Yes. Yes to the no.
And that can be really hard, and sometimes impossible. And very often it has to be negotiated.
Yeah.
But
sometimes in a month it becomes clear. So if you are cycling, if you do have a menstrual cycle, then that no might become very, very, very clear in your premenstruum.
Yeah.
And you find it a lot easier to say no, perhaps not in the most amenable way, but that is the time when the no becomes quite clear. So if you are charting, then you recognise what that no is, and you can implement that no when you're feeling more ovulatory
Yeah.
and
Yes.
estrogenic and
Nicer.
lovely and huggy. So it's your inner compass.
Inner compass. I think we can leave it there.
Yeah.
We have all the resources that our listeners need. You can download a chart. You can learn to massage your belly. But most importantly, as Leora says, ask yourself what you need right now.
It doesn't have to be what we're suggesting.
No.
It's as Kate said right at the beginning, it's so deeply personal.
Chocolate is also a good thing. Okay. Thanks, Leora.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.